spot in the shower could be cutting your life short? It sounds surprising, maybe even a bit extreme. But more and more research is pointing to the serious health risks tied to overlooked hygiene in specific areas of the body. And the truth is, many of these places are missed during a typical shower, especially as we age. In this video, we're looking at 5 body parts that seniors often forget to clean properly. Areas that quietly collect bacteria, sweat, and fungal growth that can lead to real medical issues if left alone. From problems with circulation to skin infections that creep in under the radar, these spots matter more than you think. Stay with us until the very end, because one of these areas is so often neglected, yet it's directly connected to your immune system. And washing it takes less than 10 seconds. That small habit could protect your health more than you ever realized. Let's get into it. Number 1, the feet. One of the most commonly overlooked areas that can quietly harm your health, if not cleaned regularly, is your feet. Now, you might think a quick rinse in the shower is enough, but for older adults who may already struggle with reduced circulation, diabetes, or weakened immunity, skipping a proper foot, cleanse is like inviting bacteria to set up camp and stay. Fungal infections love warm, moist environments, especially between the toes or under toenails. And for seniors, what starts as a small patch of athlete's foot can easily spiral into something much more serious, like cellulitis or a skin ulcer that won't heal. Even more concerning, many older adults don't feel the early signs of foot problems because of reduced nerve sensitivity. You might not notice an infection until it's already done damage, and at that point, treatment becomes much more complicated. Beyond fungus, dead skin buildup, cracked heels, and lingering sweat can all weaken the skin's barrier, which in turn increases your risk of infections that can sneak into the bloodstream. But here's the hopeful part: just 5 to 10 seconds of intentional cleaning per foot, getting in between the toes, under the nails, and around the heel, can significantly reduce these risks. And it's not just about scrubbing. After you dry your feet thoroughly, applying a little moisturizer can help keep the skin soft, healthy, and more resilient. Think of this daily habit not as vanity, but as vascular care. Because your feet aren't just about walking, they're one of the body's first places to show signs of declining health. And yet, because they're so far down, so easy to hide, they're also one of the easiest places to ignore. So the next time you shower, don't just let the water run down and assume your feet are clean. Reach down, take care of them. Number 2, the scalp. It's easy to think that if you don't have much hair left, or if you've moved to a low-maintenance haircut, you don't need to worry about your scalp anymore. But the truth is, your scalp is still skin, and like every other part of your body, it needs attention. When the scalp is neglected, it becomes a silent trap for oil, sweat, dead skin cells, and environmental pollutants. And over time, this buildup doesn't just stay local, it can trigger a cascade of inflammation that affects your immune system, weakens your skin barrier, and leads to long-term irritation. In older adults, scalp health is more than just a cosmetic issue. Chronic dryness or flaking can cause low-grade infections that compromise the skin's integrity, and in severe cases, bacteria from the scalp can find their way into open sores or even hair follicles weakened by age. But here's something most people don't know. Your scalp has some of the largest concentrations of sebaceous glands on the body, which means oil buildup can happen faster here than almost anywhere else. When left unwashed, that oil oxidizes, hardens, and becomes a breeding ground for pathogens you can't even see. For people in their 60s and beyond, that could mean not just discomfort, but an unnecessary risk of infection that's hard to spot until it's advanced. And while many folks reduce shampoo frequency as they age, thinking their hair is more fragile, skipping regular cleansing entirely can do more harm than good, especially for those with fine hair, a bald scalp, or thinning at the crown. Even gently massaging the scalp for a few minutes during a wash improves blood flow to the head and neck, stimulates lymphatic drainage, and helps with mental clarity and stress reduction. It's not just about cleanliness, it's a boost for your whole system. So even if your hair is short, thin, or gone altogether, your scalp still matters. Take care of it. Wash it with intention. Massage it lightly. You'll feel better, your head will thank you, and your body will quietly benefit more than you realize. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the navel area. The belly button might be one of the smallest parts of your body, but it's also one of the most neglected and, surprisingly, one of the dirtiest. As we age, our flexibility decreases, and little areas like the navel can get overlooked in the shower. You might think, it's just a small spot, what harm could it do? But the truth is, the navel is a recessed area where sweat, dead, skin cells, soap residue, and lint from clothing can collect. And when it's not cleaned regularly, it becomes a perfect hiding place for harmful bacteria and even yeast. In some cases, what starts as mild irritation can turn into an infection called omphalitis. This condition, though more common in infants, is becoming increasingly noted in elderly patients, especially those with diabetes or compromised immune systems. The bacteria can thrive in the dark, moist and warm environment of the navel and quietly begin causing redness, foul odor, or discharge. What makes it more dangerous is that the signs are subtle at first. Many seniors don't notice discomfort until the infection is well underway, and by that point, healing takes much longer than it would have 20 years earlier. In more extreme cases, hardened buildup, known as navel stones, can form small, dark, foul-smelling masses that require medical removal. And yet, avoiding all this comes down to a simple habit. During your daily wash, just use a fingertip wrapped with a washcloth or soft cotton swab. Gently clean inside the navel with warm water and mild soap, and then make sure to dry the area thoroughly. A dry navel is just as important as a clean one because any lingering moisture left behind creates a breeding ground for microbes. And if you've had abdominal surgery or any skin folds in the area, even more reason to give this spot attention. Keeping the navel clean is more than just hygiene. It's preventative health, especially as your immune system starts to shift with age. So treat this small hidden place with care, because sometimes it's the parts we don't see that matter the most. Number 4, the underbreast area. For many older women, and some men as well, the area beneath the breast can become one of the most easily irritated and overlooked regions of the body. And yet it's one of the most critical to keep clean, especially as we age. This fold of skin, often warm and moist, becomes a hot spot for bacterial and fungal growth if not washed and dried daily. The skin here is thin, delicate, and frequently covered by clothing and undergarments, which trap sweat and reduce airflow. Over time, this combination creates the perfect environment for inner trigo, a red inflamed rash caused by friction, moisture, and infection. It can start with just a little itching or redness, but if left alone, it can turn into painful sores, open wounds, or chronic fungal infections that require long-term treatment. Some women, especially those who've had breast surgery, weight changes, or natural sagging over the years are more prone to these issues. And because the underbreast area isn't always easy to see in the mirror, problems can go unnoticed until they become severe. One of the biggest mistakes older adults make is assuming a quick rinse in the shower is enough. But that area needs intentional care. Lift the skin gently, wash thoroughly with mild soap, rinse well, and most importantly, pat completely dry. A clean towel or soft washcloth used just for this purpose can make all the difference. For those more prone to moisture, a bit of unscented body powder or cornstarch can help keep the area dry without irritating the skin. Paying attention here is not just about avoiding discomfort, it's about preserving your skin's integrity, preventing infections that could take weeks to heal, and maintaining a sense of physical confidence. Neglect in this area can quietly steal your comfort day after day, especially in warmer months or during physical activity. But just a few mindful seconds each morning can change all of that. So even if no one else sees it, remember this part of your body deserves just as much respect and care as the rest. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the groin area. This is one of the most sensitive and easily irritated areas of the body, and yet it's also one of the most neglected. For many older adults, the groin becomes a trouble spot not because of major hygiene failures, but because of small oversights that build up over time and quietly lead to chronic issues. As we age, we naturally develop looser skin, more folds, and changes in muscle tone. That means more places for moisture to collect, more opportunities for bacteria and fungus to grow, and a greater chance for discomfort, odor, or skin breakdown. Men and women alike can experience these problems, but many are too embarrassed to talk about it or too unsure of what's normal and what's not. The skin in the groin area is delicate, often prone to friction, and easily overwhelmed by tight clothing, incontinence, or even long periods of sitting. And when it's not washed and dried properly, Conditions like jock itch, yeast infections, or folliculitis can begin without much warning. Just a little redness here, a little itching there, until suddenly you're dealing with pain or skin damage that won't go away easily. One of the quiet dangers is how quickly infections in this area can spread. Because of proximity to lymph nodes and other vital structures, even minor skin issues can escalate into something more serious if not cared for promptly. And once the skin barrier is compromised, healing becomes slower and more complicated in older bodies. Washing this area every day is non-negotiable. But how you wash matters just as much. Use warm water, a gentle unscented soap, and your bare hands or a soft cloth. No rough scrubbing, no drying with harsh towels, and be thorough. Clean between folds, rinse carefully, and pat dry completely. If moisture is a consistent problem, applying a light layer of talc-free powder or a barrier cream can help reduce irritation. For those dealing with incontinence, daily cleaning is even more important and should always follow any accident, no matter how small. Don't wait until a rash or smell appears. By that point, your skin is already telling you it's overwhelmed. A healthy groin area improves comfort, mobility, and even confidence. It allows you to walk, stretch, and sleep without discomfort. And when you care for this area daily, you're doing more than staying clean. You're protecting one of the most vulnerable parts of your body from breakdown, infection, and long-term harm. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. When it comes to aging well, it's often the smallest habits that make the biggest difference. Daily hygiene might not feel like a life or death matter, but as we've seen today, the way you care for your body, especially these overlooked areas, can play a powerful role in your long-term health, comfort, and even longevity. Which of these 5 areas surprised you the most? Was there one you hadn't really thought about until now? The truth is, wisdom in our later years isn't just about knowing big life lessons. It's about noticing the quiet things, the daily routines, the signals our bodies give us, and the chance every day to protect the body we still have, gently, consistently, and with respect. If you've made it this far, I hope this video didn't just give you a checklist, but a deeper appreciation for your body and a renewed commitment to care for it with intention. Because you're not just washing away dirt, you're preserving the very vessel that carries you through this beautiful and still unfolding life. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you and people seem to fade after 80, even those who were sharp and doing well just a few years before often begin to decline. The truth is, most people assume that what happens after 80 is purely about genetics or luck, but that's far from the whole story. In this video, we're going to look at 5 unexpected reasons, often overlooked and rarely talked about, that explain why many older adults struggle to live long or stay healthy past 80. These aren't the usual suspects like diet, smoking, or exercise. These are deeper, more subtle factors that often slip through the cracks, even in people who've done most things right. And the good news, once you know what they are, you can do something about them. So if you've ever wondered what really gets in the way of longevity after 80 and how to guard against it, while you still have time, stay with me until the end of this video. Because these 5 unexpected reasons might just help you change the way you age before it's too late. Now let's get started. Number 1, loss of microsocial engagement. One of the first and most overlooked reasons many older people don't live long after 80 is the quiet disappearance of what experts call microsocial engagement. These are not your deep friendships or family gatherings. Those still matter, of course, but rather the small, seemingly insignificant interactions that used to fill your everyday life without you even noticing. Think about how often you used to say, "Hello" to the mailman, share a quick joke with the cashier at the grocery store, or nod to the neighbor walking their dog across the street. Those tiny moments of contact weren't just pleasant. They were regulating your nervous system, reinforcing your sense of belonging, and keeping your brain's social wiring sharp and engaged. But after 80, many older adults stop going to the store themselves. They order things online or ask family to help. They stop chatting with strangers because their hearing isn't what it used to be. Or they stop walking outside simply because the weather's a little too cold, or their knees don't feel steady. And when those small social touchpoints start fading away, so does something else, vitality. What's interesting is that most people don't even realize it's happening. They think they're just simplifying life. But what they're actually doing is removing the low-level, social interactions that stimulate brain function, elevate mood, and signal to the body that they are still part of the living, breathing, everyday world. It doesn't have to be complicated. I've known men in their 80s who stayed sharp simply because they walked to the same coffee shop each morning, said hello to the same staff, and nodded to the same 3 people on the corner. That 5-minute stretch of human connection wasn't just routine, it was lifeblood. It gave their days shape. It kept them accountable. It made them feel seen. And there's a biological cost when this disappears. The brain responds to loneliness, both the deep kind and the subtle kind, as a stressor. It changes hormone levels, raises inflammation, and weakens immunity. But most importantly, it begins to shrink the networks in the brain that are responsible for memory, attention, and emotional regulation. In plain terms, it makes you feel older, faster. So if you found yourself not talking as much to people during the day, or if you've simply stopped going out for small errands, stopped initiating casual conversations, or started feeling invisible in your community, it's time to reverse that. Because those moments of connection, even the ones that seem forgettable, are quietly telling your brain and your body you still matter. You're still part of something. And that message is one of the most powerful medicines for staying alive, not just in years, but in spirit. Number 2, overcautious inactivity. Another silent reason many people don't make it far past 80 is something that, on the surface, seems like wisdom being careful. But there's a fine line between being careful and becoming overly cautious. And once that line is crossed, the consequences are rarely immediate, but always cumulative. It often begins with good intentions. Maybe you slipped on the stairs once, or nearly lost your balance on the sidewalk. So you decide to cut back on walking outside. You stop bending to reach low shelves or climbing into the backseat of the car. You sit down more and you stay sitting longer. People around you applaud your caution. Don't push it, they say. Take it easy. And before you realize it, you've created a life that's safe but still. But here's what no one talks about: when movement stops, so does strength. And not just in your legs or arms, but in your coordination, your balance, your inner stability. Your body isn't like a machine that rests to stay efficient. It's more like a garden that needs tending. And when activity slows to a trickle, things don't just stay the same. They weaken. One of the first places it shows is the core. Most people don't realize how important those deep trunk muscles are for everything. Standing, walking, lifting, even getting out of a chair. If those muscles go unused even for a few weeks, they shrink. And when they shrink, your balance suffers. You start to wobble, and the cycle deepens. I knew a man named Walter, 82, who stopped going on his evening walks after he slipped once on a rainy day. No broken bones, just a scare. But that scare was enough. He went from walking a mile every evening to sitting and watching television most nights. Within 6 months, he lost 10 pounds of muscle. His legs felt like jelly. His doctor warned him, but the damage had already started. Walter didn't stop because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped. Now, I'm not suggesting you ignore real risk. There are smart ways to protect yourself: using handrails, wearing stable shoes, clearing walkways, even using a cane if it helps. But there's a difference between managing risk and surrendering to it. When fear dictates your movements, the body starts to forget how to move at all. So if you've noticed you're doing less, not because you physically can't, but because you're afraid of what might happen, pay attention to that. Ask yourself, am I protecting myself or am I slowly disappearing? Because staying alive after 80 isn't just about not falling. It's about continuing to move, even if you have to do it more carefully, more slowly, more deliberately. Movement is how the body remembers that it's still needed. It's how your systems stay online, how your brain stays alert, and how your heart keeps pumping with purpose. And if you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, disrupted sleep cycles from irregular light exposure. There's a silent clock inside your body that doesn't tick, but it governs almost everything. Your mood, your metabolism, your immune system, even how your brain repairs itself at night. And after age 80, this internal clock, your circadian rhythm, becomes especially sensitive. One of the biggest reasons it goes off track? Not enough light during the day and too much light at night. You might not notice it at first. Maybe you've started sleeping a little more during the day, nodding off in the afternoon sun. Or maybe you've stopped going outside regularly, especially in the colder months. You might turn on the TV in the evening, or leave the lights on until late while reading or watching a movie. Each of these changes might seem harmless, but together, they quietly confuse the body about when it's supposed to be alert and when it's supposed to rest. The body relies on natural light to stay in rhythm. Bright morning light tells your brain it's time to wake up, to get moving, to send energy where it's needed. And darkness at night signals the release of melatonin, that gentle hormone that prepares you for deep, healing sleep. But when your eyes don't receive enough of that natural daytime light, or when your evenings are filled with artificial brightness from screens or lamps, your internal signals get scrambled. The result? You might find it harder to fall asleep or harder to stay asleep. You might wake up feeling groggy, even after 8 hours in bed. You might find your energy lagging throughout the day, or your memory feeling a little fuzzier than usual. And over time, that sleep disruption affects more than just your energy. It weakens your immune function, makes your mood less stable, and even increases the risk of cognitive decline. There's also the issue of vitamin D, which the body naturally produces when your skin is exposed to sunlight. After 80, your ability to synthesize vitamin D through the skin decreases, which means regular outdoor exposure becomes even more critical. Without it, your bones, muscles, and immune system all take a hit. I once spoke with a woman named Helen, who was 84 and had been feeling increasingly tired and disoriented. Her blood work looked fine, her diet hadn't changed, and she wasn't taking any new medications. The turning point? Her doctor simply recommended she spend 20 minutes every morning, sitting by the window with her blinds wide open, and to turn off her screens 1 hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, her sleep improved. So did her memory. So did her mood. It wasn't a new pill. It was light. So if you've been spending most of your time indoors with the curtains drawn, or if your evenings are filled with blue light from a phone or TV, it's time to shift. Try to get outside within an hour of waking up, even if it's just for a few minutes on your porch. Let your eyes and skin soak in that morning light. In the evening, dim the lights. Let your body prepare to wind down. These gentle rhythms are more than comfort, they are survival. Because what many people don't realize is that the body doesn't just get old from wear and tear. It also gets old from disorganization, from systems being out of sync. And restoring your light cues, your sleep schedule, your daily rhythms, that's how you bring that organization back. That's how you tell your body, even at 85 years old, we're still on schedule. We're still in motion. We're still here. Number 4, emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By the time many people reach their 80s, they've carried more loss than most younger folks can imagine. A spouse, a sibling, a lifelong friend, sometimes even a child. And while the outside world may politely offer sympathy, what's rarely acknowledged is just how much those losses accumulate, not just in memory, but in the body. What often happens after 80 isn't just grief. It's emotional suppression. It's the slow, quiet habit of swallowing the pain instead of expressing it, of putting on a brave face because you feel like you should be used to it by now, or because there's no one left who really understands the depth of what you've lost. But here's the truth the body doesn't forget. When grief isn't processed, when it's not spoken, not shared, not felt fully, it doesn't just disappear. It gets stored. And over time, that emotional weight becomes physical. It starts to affect your immune system, your digestion, your sleep. It changes your hormones. It puts your nervous system in a constant state of quiet tension. And the hardest part, it happens silently. On the outside, you might look calm. You might even say you're fine. But if your shoulders have grown a little heavier, if your breathing is a bit shallower, if your spark has dimmed just enough that you no longer feel like yourself, grief might be the reason, even if you haven't spoken about it in years. I remember a man named George, 86, who lost his wife of 60 years. He didn't cry much, said it wasn't his way, said he was doing all right. But within a year, he'd lost weight, stopped going to the senior center, and began having trouble sleeping. Not because of illness, but because his body was carrying sorrow it had never been allowed to release. You see, emotional pain doesn't need to be dramatic to be damaging. And by the time it shows up in your health, the connection isn't always obvious. What keeps people alive well past 80 often isn't just physical strength. It's emotional ventilation. It's having safe, open outlets for sadness, for fear, for longing. It's being able to say, I miss her, or I'm still angry, or I feel alone, and not being judged for it. That kind of release is what lets the heart breathe again. And when the heart can breathe, the body can heal. That's why people who live long tend to have some kind of outlet. Maybe it's a trusted friend, maybe it's a journal, maybe it's faith or a community group, or even a therapist who helps them unpack the stories they've carried for decades. Whatever the form, the principle is the same. What gets expressed can be transformed. What gets buried festers. So if you've been holding something in, not because you want to, but because you didn't know where to put it, it's time to make space. Not just for the sake of your emotions, but for your life. Because the truth is, the heart can only carry so much before it starts to quietly shut down. And if you want to make it well past 80, not just breathing, but alive, you have to let it feel too. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, gradual loss of daily purpose. One of the most invisible reasons many people don't thrive past 80 is the slow erosion of something we often take for granted until it's gone: daily purpose. Not life purpose in some grand philosophical way, but the simple kind. The kind that makes you get out of bed in the morning with something to do, somewhere to go, someone to see. Purpose doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be watering the plants before the sun gets too hot. It can be feeding the neighborhood cat that waits outside your door. It can be writing a letter to your granddaughter or fixing the hinge on the back gate. But when these little routines start slipping away, when mornings come with no reason to move, and evenings arrive without anything worth reflecting on, something inside begins to quietly shut down. The body listens to the mind. And when the mind no longer sees a reason to push forward, the body follows. Appetite drops, movement slows, and without purpose, the systems that used to regulate your health start to go quiet, not because they're broken, but because they're waiting for a reason to switch back on. It's easy to miss because it happens gradually. Maybe your weekly bridge game got canceled. Maybe the church group stopped meeting. Maybe your family visits less often, or your old volunteer role ended when your knees started aching. You tell yourself it's normal, that it's part of aging. But deep down, you can feel it. The days blending together, each one quieter than the last. I once met a woman named Ruth, 88, who seemed more alive than most people half her age. She wasn't wealthy, she wasn't in perfect health, and she wasn't surrounded by a big family. But she had one thing that never left her routine. Every Monday, she wrote postcards to shut-ins in her church. Every Thursday, she made soup and froze it for a local shelter. Every day, she sat at her window around 4 p.m. to watch the neighborhood kids walk home from school. She knew their names. She waved to them, and they waved back. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave her days texture. It gave her heart rhythm. It gave her life continuity. And that's the secret no one tells you. The body stays alive as long as it believes it's needed. Purpose, even the smallest kind, is like fuel. It tells your cells to keep repairing, your organs to keep functioning, your brain to keep learning. When you lose that sense of relevance, when you feel like your presence no longer matters to anyone or anything, the flame starts to dim. That's why people who live beyond 80 with grace and vitality usually have something anchoring their day. It could be a garden, a pet, a journal, a ritual, a phone call, a simple morning prayer. What matters isn't the scale, it's the consistency. It's knowing that when you open your eyes in the morning, there's a reason to rise. So if you've been feeling a little adrift, like your days have lost shape or meaning, don't ignore it. That's not just sadness. It's a signal. Your body is asking for rhythm again, for structure, for connection, for purpose. Because at the end of the day, longevity isn't just about the heart beating. It's about the heart wanting to beat. And that quiet desire to keep going, to stay connected, to still matter, that's what carries people past 80 and into lives that still feel full. Final thoughts. As we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful truth. Most people don't fade after 80 because of a single moment. It's not a diagnosis or a fall or a birthday that suddenly turns everything. It's the slow, quiet fading of habits, rhythms, and reasons to stay engaged. And often those changes are so subtle, so gradual, that you don't realize what's happening until something inside feels dimmer than it used to. But the good news is this: just as these shifts happen slowly, they can also be reversed slowly. One walk outside, one extra conversation with someone at the store, one small stretch in the morning, one thing you do today, not because you have to, but because it brings structure, connection, or meaning. That's how you begin turning things around. So think back to the 5 unexpected reasons we covered. Which one surprised you the most? Which one felt uncomfortably familiar? And more importantly, which one are you willing to act on, even in a small way, starting today? Because the truth is, you have more power than you think. Not to stop aging, but to change the way you age. And if you're willing to stay awake to the quiet shifts, if you're willing to guard your rhythms, protect your purpose, and let yourself feel what needs to be felt, then there's a good chance you won't just reach 80. You'll live beyond it, fully and deeply on your terms. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.